People who are too aware often live in a world that feels louder, deeper, and heavier than it does for others. They notice the small shifts in a person's tone, the change of energy in a room, the tension behind someone's smile, and even the meanings that are never spoken. Their mind works like a microscope and a radar at the same time, zooming into details while scanning for patterns. On the outside, they may seem calm, observant, even mysterious. But inside, their thoughts run like a non-stop movie, replaying moments, analyzing gestures, and predicting outcomes that others never even think about. This type of awareness can be a gift, but it can also feel like a burden, because seeing too much often means feeling too much. People who are extremely aware usually grew up learning to pay attention, not out of curiosity, but for survival. Maybe their environment was unpredictable, or they had to understand moods quickly to avoid discomfort. This built a deeply sensitive mind that can read signals faster than most people. As adults, this awareness transforms into a unique psychological style, a constant assessment of everything around them. They rarely take words at face value. They look for what's underneath. They sense inconsistencies instantly. They notice silence more than noise, and they absorb emotions like a sponge, even when they don't want to. This makes them excellent at understanding others, but often exhausted by social interactions. Their awareness also makes them overthink. They don't just experience events, they dissect them. A simple conversation becomes a long analysis. A casual remark feels loaded. A small expression becomes a clue to something deeper. Their mind is always connecting dots, even when there are no dots to connect. This habit creates a strong sense of intuition, sometimes accurate, sometimes misleading. But for them, intuition isn't optional. It's a reflex. They can't turn it off. People who are too aware often struggle with emotional boundaries because they can sense someone else's sadness, anger, or stress almost immediately. They feel responsible for fixing it, calming it, or understanding it. This can make them emotionally tired, but it also makes them incredibly empathetic. They are the kind of people others come to for understanding, but they rarely find someone who can understand them at the same depth. Their inner world is rich but heavy, full of thoughts, sensations, and insights they don't know how to explain. In relationships, their awareness can be both a blessing and a challenge. They notice love in small things, but also notice distance before it becomes obvious. They feel lies quickly, sense intentions instantly, and recognize patterns early. This makes them protective of their heart and selective about the people they let in. They crave depth, honesty, and emotional clarity, because anything less feels empty to them. Overall, being too aware means living with eyes that see too much and a mind that feels too deeply. It creates a unique psychology shaped by sensitivity, intuition, and understanding, but also by overthinking, emotional overload, and constant internal analysis. If you're finding this topic interesting and you want more deep, meaningful explanations like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel because your support truly helps me create content that connects with you on a personal level. When you subscribe, you don't just click a button. You become part of a community that loves understanding human behavior, psychology, emotions, and the hidden patterns behind why people act the way they do. Every video is made to give you clarity, comfort, and that aha moment that stays with you long after you finish watching. By subscribing, you'll never miss the next chapter of these powerful insights, and you'll always be one step ahead in understanding yourself and the people around you. So take a moment, hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications, and stay with me as we explore the mind in a way that feels real, relatable, and truly eye-opening. People who are too aware often live with an inner radar that never switches off, constantly scanning the world for signs, meanings, and possibilities that most people overlook. Their mind is like a sensitive instrument tuned to the tiniest shifts, a pause in someone's voice, the way a person avoids eye contact, the sudden change in atmosphere, the difference between what is said and what is meant. This heightened sensitivity makes them incredibly perceptive, almost like they can hear the quiet thoughts behind the loud words. They don't just observe people, they absorb them. And because of that, they often understand others far more deeply than others understand themselves. But this depth comes at a cost. Their brain keeps collecting information even when they want silence. They cannot just let things go. They replay conversations not because they are dramatic, but because their mind is trying to decode the hidden layers beneath every moment. Even when someone casually says, "I'm fine," they catch the crack in the tone, the forced smile, the heaviness behind the eyes, and they immediately know something is off. Their awareness forces them to see truths they sometimes wish they could ignore. This kind of mind rarely rests. It keeps the person alert, cautious, and always somewhat prepared for emotional impact. They walk through life understanding everything too deeply, which means they can't enjoy ignorance the way others do. They notice the cracks in relationships before anyone else sees them. They sense when someone is losing interest long before the breakup. They feel the emotional distance growing even when the actions still look the same. For them, intuition is not magic. It is the natural result of observing everything intensely. The problem is, once they notice something, they cannot unsee it. Their thoughts start spinning, analyzing, comparing, connecting past experiences with present signs. This brings clarity but also anxiety, because knowing too much often means worrying too much. People around them may think they are quiet or overthinking, but in reality, they are processing a whole world of emotional data that others don't even realize exists. They are the kind of people who can sit in a room full of smiling faces and still pinpoint who is pretending to be happy. They can sense tension like a sudden change in temperature. They can feel when someone's energy shifts, even if that person says nothing at all. Their inner world becomes heavy because they are carrying not only their own emotions, but also the emotions of everyone they interact with. This depth makes them compassionate, loyal, understanding, and incredibly supportive. But it also makes them tired because the world feels louder to them in ways that others cannot understand. Living with this level of awareness means always being a few steps ahead emotionally, sometimes to the point where they feel isolated. They understand too much, feel too deeply, and notice too quickly. Yet this same awareness is what makes them unique, able to connect, perceive, and understand humanity in a way that very few can. People who carry this intense awareness often struggle with a constant battle between what they feel and what they show. On the inside, their emotions move in layers, one feeling stacked on top of another, while on the outside they might appear calm, quiet, or even distant. They don't open up easily because they already know how people tend to react, and they've learned that most people only want surface-level conversations, not deep truths. This makes them protect their inner world like a fragile glass jar, afraid that careless hands might drop it. They observe everything first before allowing themselves to speak or trust. They listen with full attention, not because they are shy, but because their mind is gathering information about tone, intention, authenticity, and emotional safety. When they finally decide to express themselves, they choose every word carefully, thinking about its impact, its honesty, and whether the other person can actually handle the depth behind it. Because of this, they often feel misunderstood. People might assume they're cold or uninterested when in reality, they're just cautious, thoughtful, and emotionally analytical. Their awareness makes them notice the gap between what people pretend to be and who they truly are. And this gap sometimes makes them uncomfortable. They can sense when someone is hiding pain behind laughter, when someone is lying through a smile, or when someone is pretending to care without truly meaning it. This sensitivity makes them crave genuine connections, people who can speak honestly, listen deeply, and feel without pretending. But genuine people are rare, and waiting for them often makes the aware person feel lonely, even in a crowd. Their emotional intelligence is so high that they often find themselves adjusting their behavior to make others feel comfortable. They tone down their own thoughts, hide their worries, soften their opinions, and pretend not to notice uncomfortable truths just to maintain harmony. But inside, their mind keeps running, analyzing, sensing, connecting patterns, and trying to protect themselves from emotional disappointment. They know how easily people can change, how quickly someone's heart can shift, and how words don't always match actions. This makes them always alert, never fully relaxed, always half prepared for the emotional twists that life brings. Still, this level of awareness gives them a quiet strength. They learn to navigate people with wisdom, patience, and intuition. They may not speak much, but they understand more than most people ever will. They don't need loudness to express their presence. Their depth speaks for them. Their awareness becomes both their shield and their guide, helping them to move through life with a kind of emotional clarity that few people possess. People with this level of heightened awareness often carry a mind that never stops questioning, interpreting, and translating everything around them. Their thoughts don't flow in a straight line. They move like waves, constantly shifting between memories, observations, and possibilities. A single moment can trigger a chain of reflections. Why someone acted a certain way, what their expression really meant, how the situation could unfold, and what patterns it connects to from the past. This mental depth makes them exceptional at understanding hidden motives and emotional undercurrents. But while this gives them insight, it also weighs heavily on their heart. They feel responsible for predicting emotional outcomes, avoiding conflict, and maintaining balance in situations that others carelessly walk through. Their awareness becomes like a shield they use to protect themselves from getting hurt. Yet at the same time, it becomes a burden because it keeps them constantly alert, even when nothing is wrong. This type of person finds it hard to relax fully because their mind is always preparing for what might happen next. They read the room before they step inside. They study people long before they trust them. They sense emotional changes before anyone mentions them. This kind of sensitivity means they rarely get surprised, but it also means they rarely feel carefree. Their awareness makes them cautious about relationships, slow to open up, and even slower to rely on others. They've learned through experience that being too open can lead to disappointment, so they try to stay one step ahead emotionally. Still, deep down, they wish they could live with the same simplicity as people who don't notice every little detail. They wish they could stop caring so intensely, stop analyzing every pause or tone, stop expecting the worst simply because they've seen it before. But their mind doesn't work that way. Awareness is not something they choose. It's something their life trained them for. Even with this internal weight, they often appear strong, wise, and stable to others. People rely on them because they always seem to understand what's happening beneath the surface. They are the ones who sense when a friend is hurting, who comfort without being asked, who predict problems before they grow, and who offer solutions before anyone else even notices the issue. Yet, ironically, these deeply aware individuals often feel that no one truly understands them. Their emotional world is complex, quiet, and rarely spoken. They carry insights they never express and feelings they never fully share. This creates a gentle loneliness, a sense that they are always observing life from a distance, always watching, always understanding, but not always included in the simple comfort that others seem to enjoy so easily. Still, their awareness is a unique kind of power. It gives them depth, intuition, and emotional intelligence that stands out. Even when the world feels overwhelming, their ability to see beyond the surface makes them extraordinary. And before we go even deeper into this, if you're connecting with these thoughts and you feel like this content truly speaks to your inner world, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. Your support helps these conversations grow and reach more people who feel the same things but don't know how to express them. When you subscribe, you're not just joining a channel. You're joining a space where your emotions are understood, where your depth is valued, and where your silence is heard. Every new video is created to give clarity, comfort, and a feeling of recognition to those who think and feel intensely. So hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and stay with me as we uncover more layers of the mind that most people never talk about, but you've always felt deeply inside. People with this intense level of awareness often develop a quiet kind of maturity that doesn't always match their age. They understand situations faster than others, not because they are smarter, but because they feel the emotional truth behind everything immediately. This makes them wise in ways that are difficult to explain. They become the person who senses when someone is being taken advantage of, who recognizes manipulation before it becomes clear, and who notices the difference between genuine kindness and performative gestures. Their awareness teaches them to protect their peace, guard their energy, and stay away from people who drain them emotionally. Yet, even with this wisdom, they often struggle to practice it for themselves, because their empathy pulls them toward helping others, even when it costs them their own emotional stability. They know when someone is using them, but sometimes they stay anyway, hoping their understanding might heal the other person. And afterward, they carry the weight of their own choices quietly, processing everything in silence. This inner maturity also makes them old souls in relationships. They don't want temporary attention, shallow conversations, or half-hearted presence. They crave consistency, emotional safety, and deep understanding because they notice red flags early. They rarely fall for illusions. But this also makes them hesitate to open their heart because they can sense the potential ending before the beginning even feels stable. They analyze body language, tone of voice, patterns of behavior, and even the silence between messages. Their awareness isn't negativity. It's self-preservation learned from experience. They understand that trust is fragile, and once broken, it becomes difficult to rebuild. So they hold their heart with both hands, giving it slowly, carefully, and only to those who make them feel emotionally safe. Yet despite this caution, they still feel everything intensely. Even small moments of affection touch them deeply. A thoughtful gesture can warm their whole day. A sincere conversation can stay in their memory for years. They are emotionally deep, but also emotionally lonely, because very few people match their level of sensitivity and perception. They often feel like the world is too loud for their quiet heart, too shallow for their deep mind, too fast for their slow, thoughtful nature. But their awareness gives them a rare ability to understand life not just as it is shown, but as it is truly felt beneath the surface. They might carry the weight of too much understanding, but they also carry the beauty of seeing the world in ways that others cannot. People who live with this level of awareness often develop a powerful internal world that becomes both their sanctuary and their struggle. Their mind is filled with thoughts, reflections, and silent stories that never leave them. They analyze life not just from what happens, but from what it means. Every experience turns into a lesson. Every emotion becomes a memory. And every moment becomes a piece of something larger they're always trying to understand. This inner world gives them creativity, depth, and a kind of emotional intelligence that makes them different from others. They think in meanings, not moments. They feel the weight of their choices, the impact of their words, and the energy of the people around them. But because their inner world is so rich, they often feel disconnected from the simplicity with which others live. They face the world with clarity yet crave the comfort of being understood without having to explain every layer of their thoughts. Their awareness makes them highly self-reflective. They question themselves more than anyone else does. They worry about being misunderstood, hurting others, or not living up to their own standards. When something goes wrong, they don't blame the situation. They look inward, searching for lessons, patterns, and reasons. This self-analysis can help them grow, but it can also make them emotionally tired because they rarely give themselves the grace to just be human. Their mind is always trying to make sense of things. Even when things don't need to be understood, they just need to be felt. And that's where they struggle, between understanding everything and wanting to feel nothing for a moment of peace. People like this often connect deeply with art, music, writing, or silence because these things allow them to express what they cannot put into words. Creativity becomes their language, their emotional escape, their way of releasing what their mind is holding. They express depth quietly, beautifully, and honestly. But at the same time, they wish someone could look at them and understand their silence without needing explanations. They wish someone could feel their depth without being overwhelmed by it. They long for companionship that feels safe, gentle, and emotionally fluent. Someone who doesn't get scared by the intensity of their thoughts or the heaviness of their heart. Despite all of this, their awareness is a rare strength. It makes them intuitive, empathetic, emotionally smart, and wise beyond measure. They are the kind of people who notice beauty in small things, who protect people they care about without asking for anything in return, and who move through life with a quiet emotional power. Their mind may be heavy at times, but it is also brilliant, perceptive, and deeply alive. And even though they often feel alone with their awareness, it is this very depth that makes them unforgettable, irreplaceable, and truly one of a kind. In the end, people who are too aware live in a world that is richer, deeper, and more complex than most can imagine. Their minds constantly analyze, their hearts feel more than they show, and their intuition guides them through a reality that often goes unnoticed by others. This awareness can be both a gift and a burden. It allows them to understand people, emotions, and situations with incredible clarity. Yet it also comes with moments of loneliness, overthinking, and emotional fatigue. But what makes them truly extraordinary is how they carry this depth quietly, turning sensitivity into empathy, insight into wisdom, and observation into understanding. They navigate life with a careful grace, protect their hearts, and value genuine connection above all else. If you've been relating to these thoughts, understanding yourself more deeply, or just feeling seen through this discussion, make sure you subscribe to the channel. By subscribing, you join a space that honors emotional awareness, celebrates introspection, and explores the psychology of the mind in a way that feels real and relatable. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and continue this journey with us. Because there's so much more to discover about how our awareness shapes the way we live, love, and connect with the world around us. This ending ties together all 5 points while keeping your audience engaged and naturally leading into your channel subscription.